Shri Krishna, Shri Krishna, Shri Krishna, Shri Krishna. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. When we are living as Prakriti, as matter, our expressions are different. And when we are living as consciousness, our expressions are different. Like when we live in association with the wealth, so we live as a rich or a poor person. If we are living in association with the body, then we are extremely cautious about our body presentation, our health. If we are living as a strong personality means what? Duragrahi. Duragrahi means the one who is insisting on every small little thing. Duragrahi. These things are distinctly experienced through the eyes of a person. Person with a strong personality have different expressions in their eyes. Person with a minimum intensity of eye, he has a different expression in the eyes. If you see the eyes of Rajneesh, if you see the eyes of those people who are following this Siddha Marga, like there is one lady who is giving a mass diksha in Kundalini, I don't remember her name. So her eyes, you see, as if they are going to bounce on us, because deeply rooted in Prakriti. It is very difficult to stand to those eyes. One wants to avoid them, as if something is coming out and piercing in you. It's only because we are very strongly identified with our personality. And what is the personality? We carry the burden of our total past in the form of whatever, material success or spiritual life. Therefore, one has to learn not to be too much influenced by one's thoughts. When the thoughts influence us, it is immediately reflected in the eyes. See? Therefore, meditation is, yesterday we have seen, living as the gross space, and therefore none of the worldly gross objects will have any impact on us. Impact is in terms of dependence. So when we are dependent too much on the worldly things, we are a samsari. And when we are minimum dependent, to that extent our identification with the body is reduced. This is the first step we have seen yesterday. Now the second thing. All experiences happen only in the mind. Experiences do not happen to the body. Every experience happens only to the mind, good or bad. And therefore, the external world, their possessions or absence, has its impact on the mind, not on the body. And as a result, the mind gets disturbed. See, friends. And the disturbances are nothing but mind's reaction. It is something like when a foreign body goes in our foot, a thorn goes, there is a reaction. And the reaction is pain, swelling, hot area. Exactly the same thing happens when something in the external world enters our mind and creates a reaction. That reaction of the entrance of a foreign body is called as the desire. Therefore, when we are wanting to get freedom from this, the first freedom is from body identification. Second freedom is from the notion that I am a body. So, earlier we were working by the body, then we started working on the body. Now we are working by the mind, but now we should start working on the mind. Working by the body is working hard to earn money. Working by the body is practicing yoga, gym, etc. Similarly, working by the mind is default settings, our opinions, our views, our appreciation, our depreciation. This is working by the mind, giving advice, suggestions, involvement, see, making our presence felt. This is working by the mind. Now we start working on the mind. Working on the mind is number one, we become aware about our old unwanted habits. The moment we become aware of our habits, those habits will start disappearing. So what are our habits? Our habits are getting involved with everything and everybody. There is no need. Be with yourself. Otherwise, we get lost in this world in the form of creating friends and enemies. This is first step. The second step is now we start working straight away on our mind. So Yoga Shastra tells that Chitta Vritti Nirodha Yoga. And then we start struggling to quieten the mind without working or understanding exactly how the thoughts are manifested. So the thoughts are nothing but mind plus something which is not mind. Together is called as thought. So when anything enters in our mind in the form of like or dislike, any kind of interaction, value or no value, that creates a disturbance, that is called as a thought. And this happens only to somebody. So two things. There is a body behind every thought, and that body is reacting to that object or a person. Therefore, if we want to get freedom from these thoughts and thereby getting freedom from the mind, the necessity is we learn to remain as nobody as long as possible. Somebody is a habitual personality. Nobody is somebody minus habitual lifestyle. And his habitual lifestyle develops only because of practice. So, when we are sitting, first position we take to remain as nobody. Then the second step. Thoughts are not possible without words. Words are involved. Words are required to think. Without words, you cannot think. Try to think without words. You cannot. Thoughts clothed in words alone can manifest. Like when we come out of our house, we come well dressed. We don't come without clothes. Exactly the same way. Thoughts come out of the mind by wearing the clothes of thoughts, of words. When we can't contain these words inside, we start talking those words. So it is the mind which is manifesting with the words loudly is the Vaikhari Vani. Then we start talking to the people, whether needed or not needed. Because the pressure from within is very strong. We have to talk. And the second aspect of the mind is, if there is nobody to talk to, then we start talking to ourselves. So talking to ourselves becomes our second nature. And we are non-stop talking, talking, talking. So when these two things are consciously practiced, then we are working on the mind. When we talk to others, we talk about the past. When we talk to others, we talk about the present comparisons with reference to past. And when we talk to ourselves, we talk about the future. The net result is, mind is never wanting to remain in the present. If the mind remains in the present, the mind dissolves in consciousness. So now as we are seated quietly, so two things we can work on the mind. Listening is Jnanendriya and talking is Karmendriya. When these two things are simultaneously practiced, both Jnanendriyas and Karmendriyas, they dissolve in the mind and the mind dissolves in consciousness. Therefore, listen to silence and do not talk to yourself. Because of the old habits, unknowingly we start talking to ourselves. One has to remain extremely alert. And yet, if the thoughts keep on blabbering, we have to remain indifferent. thoughts are created either listening or talking. When listening is that of silence, we go beyond the hearing ability. And when we stop talking to ourselves, the mind starts dissolving in consciousness. Initially, our attention is removing the thought formation, chitta vritti nirodha. But much more subtler is let there be thoughts or no thoughts. We don't get influenced by them. Earlier stage is called as thoughtlessness. And the second is freedom from thoughts. The first is working on the mind. The second is going beyond the mind. Freedom from thoughts means now we have come to the mind space. Like earlier, it was the gross space, Bhutakash. Now we are in the mind space, Chittakash. Like the gross space is undisturbed by the gross contents, so too the Chittakash, the mind space, remains undisturbed by the thought contents. Living as Bhutakash, gross space, is freedom from the objects of the world. Living as Chittakash, the mind space, is freedom from the experiences of the world. Like the waves are on the surface of the sea, but in the depth of the sea there are no waves. Similarly, when the mind takes the shape of the body, that is the surface of the mind. There only the thought waves come. As we go deep, the body identification is dropped. Old habits are dropped. Then we enter the depth of the mind, where there are no thoughts. This depth of the mind is one mind. which is common for total creation. All the saints and the sages, they live at this depth of the mind, which is away from the periphery, the surface. Neither there are thoughts nor there is sleep. This thought free, sleep free experience is living in God. Because Sleep is also a thought. Take a little bit deep breathing 2-3 times. And you can very clearly experience the body is now included in the mind. So the mind has taken the shape of the body, thereby we have come to the periphery, to the circumference of our being. We have gone away from the center that we are. Move the toes and the fingers. Now we are deeply clear that I am inside the body and the world is outside the body. When you rub your palms vigorously, you unnecessarily create agitations. That is a wrong practice. There is no need. Only become aware that now what is our experience? I am inside the body and the world is outside. This practice of rubbing the palms, putting on the face, this is Prakriti Pradhan, matter oriented. And then that practice makes us more and more living in Prakriti matter. Do not allow us to get out of the matter. like the fire and the burning power. Burning power is Prakriti. Fire is Paramatma. The fire can remain with or without manifestation of the heat. When fire manifests heat, it is a source of destruction. When the fire doesn't manifest the heat, it is a source of construction. So we are no more interested in the heat. We are interested in the fire. Not interested in the Prakriti, but the Purusha who is supporting this. Offer everything at the feet of the Lord. Don't make any memories, or else you will like to repeat it. Repetition is possible only in Prakriti. Paramatma means one, there is no repetition possible. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.